Hello everyone, I'm Vithulan from Sysco LABS. Today we are going to see how we can set up hot form architecture with Elasticsearch. So in order to store time series data, which data is populating in a timely manner, we need to have a special architecture called hot form architecture. So if you are not familiar with hot form terminologies, you can refer to the link that we are going to attach in the description. So let's dive into the demo, how we can do that. First of all, we need to have 3 servers. I'll be doing 2 hot nodes and 1 warm node. Basically, you need Java installed. So you need Java 8 or above in order to run Elasticsearch. So as a beginning, uh, I have already installed Java in all my servers. So you can also do that, and then go to ES and we download the Elasticsearch and we extract. So this is where you have the Elasticsearch installed, and in configurations file, you have all the configurations that need to be configured in order to set up these nodes. I'll come to that. Before, we need to do some system level configurations. And also we need to create some users in order to provide access to this Elasticsearch. First, we need to have a user called Elasticsearch, so that he can have all the permissions he need. So user is created. And then I'm giving access to that user to our Elasticsearch home directory. Read access. So since these are hot nodes, I need to have a separate data directory, logs directory, and temporary directory. And all these directories needs to be accessible by Elasticsearch user. So I need to give him a permission. So I can see, yes, I have created 3 directories for data, logs, and temporary, which are owned by Elasticsearch user. So after that, I need to do some system level configurations in order to make Elasticsearch running properly without any issues. So for that, we need to have like 4 configurations need to be done. I'll explain each one of them one by one. So the first one is file max. So file max is Elasticsearch is using a lot of file descriptives in order to do we need to like work Elasticsearch without any issues, we need to have a lot of files to be open. So for that we set the file max to the maximum of 65,000 or above that. And then we need to set the swappiness to the minimum, because the swappiness in most of the OS is the memory is used to cache all the applications data. So whenever Java heap is not used, Java heap of Elasticsearch is not used, OS tend to swap that. So we need to that minimize, so that we need to set the value to the minimum. And we need to keep maximum connections that application can make to the maximum number. So after doing all these configurations, we need to save this. This configuration needs to be changed in systemctl conf in etc directory. Yeah. So after adding those configuration to systemctl configuration file, we need to add another configurations also. And after all these configurations, so these are system level configurations. After the system level configuration, we need to configure Elasticsearch. Before that, in order to make these changes applicable, we need to restart the server. So I'll be restarting now. Okay. Okay, now the server is up and running. Make sure we have all the data. Yeah, everything's there. So after that, now we need to do some changes to the Elasticsearch configuration. So Elasticsearch configuration is resided in our Elasticsearch home directory, as I already mentioned. First of all, we need to say the custom name. So whenever there are multiple nodes in your cluster or in the server, Elasticsearch will find its own cluster by the name and the IPs of the other nodes. So here I'll provide some name to this cluster, hotform root, and then we need to provide the node name as well. Make this hot2, and then I need to provide the path to data, that directory we already have created in ABS. And this should be ABS logs. We set the host to, can set the public IP, so private IP, or make it applicable for everything. And we set the HTTP port, the default one is 9200, or you can change that. And we need to make sure that we are defining all our other nodes as well. So this, from by defining this, the Elasticsearch won't spend a lot of network data to find other nodes in its cluster. So for that we need to define its public or private IPs. So it will be easy when you need to find that. So its other nodes are 92.6 and it is 230. So you can set minimum master nodes. So there can be 2 or 1. By default it's 1, we keep it there. So destructive request name, we will have keep that true because we don't want indices to be deleted. And after that we need to add another configuration which is the most important configuration in order to make this node a hot node. So we say this node is a hot node if we say the box type of this node is hot. So if the node is warm, we make this warm. So this is my hot node, so I'll make this hot. Okay, I have saved all the configurations. Now I want to do some JVM configurations in Elasticsearch as well. So we need to set the memory. So the memory should be half of your RAM and not more than 32 GB. In my this demo server, my maximum RAM is 4 GB, so I'll set the value to 2 GB. And I need to say the temp directory is this. And I also need to allow dots in the field names. So there can be situations that field names which contains dots. So in order to do that, we need to allow this. Or you don't need to do this at all. So now we are done with all configurations. After this is done, now we need to create a systemctl service file to run Elasticsearch as a service. So we'll create a service file, and I already have created a sample service, a template, and using that we'll configure our server. Okay. So sorry. So for that I need to have the path of this. And I need to change this as well. Okay. Yes, all of the configurations seems to be similar. So after that I can save this, and I'll need to have this service up and running whenever I restart the server also. Okay, so whenever server is restarted, so this service will be also restarting. So I have started the service now, systemctl start service. So let's see whether my tails are coming. I can see my logs. So now you can see the hot node is up and running, the hot 2, so it's marking it as hot 2, and I already have configured the hot node, another hot node. So this now hot node 1 and 2 are up and running. Now we need to configure warm node. So now we have configured hot warm 1 and hot warm 2. After that, we need to configure warm node. So in the warm node, there are not many configuration changes. All the configurations are similar to what I did in hot warm. So for this server, I have already configured all the configurations that I already did for hot node. The only thing that we need to change is the Elasticsearch YML configuration. So that resides in config Elasticsearch YML. So here what we need to do is the node attribute box type should be warm for the warm nodes. So you make those changes and save that. Now you can tail and see the logs, and also so this is a hot node. In hot node I can see these logs. And another hot node also. So now our cluster is up and running. All those there are 2 hot nodes and 1 warm node. Now we can see whether the cluster is properly connected and if everything is okay through Elasticsearch endpoint. So for that, I have created a ALB for cluster. So from this ALB, we can see the connection health. So now we can see our warm node and hot node 2 are connected to a ALB, and it's in a one cluster. So this is all about the demo that about how to set up a hot warm architecture with Elasticsearch. But apart from this, once all the data are created in indices in hot node, those data needs to be migrated into warm node. In order to do that, in premium Elasticsearch cloud, there's a solution from the Cloudway, but for open source, there's a solution called Curator. It's a Python package. So using this Curator, we can migrate the nodes indices from hot node to warm node easily after given time period. Let's say after 3 months, you migrate all the indices from hot node to warm node. Where warm node has a very low CPU compared to hot node, so it can we can save costs. So that's all with the demo. Thank you.